Namaste, everyone. Thank you to the TIE team for inviting me to deliver this keynote. TIE does amazing work at binding the energy of entrepreneurship to the spirit of service. I'm really glad to be able to address you today, but it's unfortunately only virtual. I'm going to use my 10 or 12 minutes to talk about how together we can achieve more impact at scale as social entrepreneurs. Scale, speed, and sustainability is a phrase that my husband Nandan uses quite often. Now, why scale? Because obviously the size of the response has to be at the size of the problem itself. Why speed? Because there is an urgency to some of today's societal problems that will only escalate if they are not solved soon. And while I'm not at all a big fan of speed for the sake of it, and that we need to focus very much on the what and the how of scale, the fact is that this pandemic has made humans fall so far back on our commonly agreed to SDGs that we have to run a little faster just to catch up and then to surge ahead. And sustainability, well, obviously, so that we can have resilience among people and institutions to cope with new issues as they arise. The last 10 months has been an absolute testament to the need for such an approach, and many people are experimenting globally along these lines. Our teams have put together what we call Societal Platform Thinking, or SPT. It is a sort of wraparound to help reduce the friction to collaborate between Samaj, Bazaar, and Sarkar, or society, markets, and the state. Its goal is to engage all three sectors in addressing complex societal issues by allowing as many stakeholders as possible to have the agency to innovate in their own context. SPT keeps some very important questions on the table. How can we create a more holistic approach to address societal issues as they constantly evolve? How can we really work together? How can we discover and deploy people's own talents, which are everywhere? How can we give people choice and freedom to innovate? How can we ensure that India's and indeed the world's huge diversity is put to good use so that people can solve problems in their own context? And how can we use technology in the service of these goals? Let me give you an example from the education sector, an area that, of course, as you know, has been globally hit very hard in this year of the virus. In 2015, my husband Nandan and Shankar Maruwada and I set up the Ek-Step Foundation to increase access to learning opportunities for 200 million children. We believed then in using all the emerging digital technologies to fuel our mission. Little did we know then that this pandemic would make our work even more relevant than before. As in many countries, India still faces challenges in getting every learner to be where she needs to be. A lot of work has happened in India in the last 3 decades, and the country has shown progress. Even ASAR shows that, the survey, year on year. But it is still not enough. We have a long way to go to ensure that every child is learning well. And now we know we have to ensure this regardless of whether children can be physically present in their schools. Something that we learned in our journey in education, and my journey really began long back in 1999, is that we need to be able to leverage existing infrastructure and meet the system where it is rather than expect the system to come to where we are. And so at Ek-Step, we had to learn to iterate. Of course, we iterated over the years to arrive at something that would finally work. And based on Nandan and Shankar's experience on Aadhaar, India's unique ID system, and based on my work at Pratham Books to put a book in every child's hand, we had learned already that to achieve anything at scale, you have to unleash local innovation. You have to design a system in such a way that people can get anywhere, anytime access to a service or a product. You have to put the grammar to the power of your intent of inclusion and equity. And this led us to work with the government of India to help them build their digital infrastructure for learning, which is called Diksha. Diksha is the union government's national teacher program for India's nearly 3 million teachers. It was designed keeping in mind the DNA of the public education system, which has so many layers. And Diksha kept evolving as an open, public digital good to empower as many people as possible to participate in this societal mission of improving learning. This platform serves as a bridge between the online and the offline world. Through QR codes embedded in existing textbooks, millions of them, hundreds of millions of children have gained access to quality curated content. On Diksha, teachers can avail of just-in-time, bite-sized training modules. They can connect with each other. They can curate special content for their classrooms, and they can do much, much more. Digitally, they can learn to improve their physical teaching. And Diksha also allows parents to be more involved and engaged in what their children are learning. It allows communities to be involved. It allows civil society organizations to be a part of improving access to learning. And importantly, it also creates space for markets to play, whether through the tuition teacher network or through after-school programs. And all this builds off of the same public infrastructure. Diksha has really taken off as an incubator for innovation. Everywhere people have come up with ingenious ways to use digital to bridge the digital divide itself. For example, take the story of teacher Revati, who has been very active on this digital platform. She used to talk about struggling with low engagement and poor reading levels in her classroom. Diksha allowed her to curate high quality content online, customize it to her offline context, and then feed what she learned, all her lessons, back into a knowledge commons of a peer group of teachers. Diksha currently supports 35 states in India across 33 languages with over 90,000 pieces of co-created content by India's teachers and other experts. The usage numbers really speak for themselves. There have been cumulatively over 3 billion page views and 275 million content views on Diksha. This platform, which is actually a part of a large ecosystem of platforms, has really come to the rescue of the education system in this pandemic with all its massive school closures and very frustrated students. This year on Diksha, there were 1 billion training sessions for teachers. And just in the last 60 days, there have been close to 400 million learning sessions across pretty much all the states in India. These mind-boggling numbers show what becomes possible when digital infrastructure is animated with human intent and when we build technology that works for society. But the real credit goes to the teachers, the students, and the parents who bravely adopted unfamiliar digital technologies and pedagogies. Our teams learned that once individuals and communities feel empowered with new tools, they quickly create the enabling environment in which change can be scaled up. The example of Diksha, along with the ecosystem of platforms on which it sits, shows how Sarkar can embark on creating some societal platforms together with Samaj. Now the infrastructure is in place to invite in the bazaar as well, and I hope that can happen. All this work embodies the lessons that Nandan and I have learned in our respective journeys over the last 3 decades as active participants in Samaj in my case and Bazaar and Sarkar also in his. It is not something that we believe is unique or new to us. It's a distillation of things that many of you have worked on for the last few decades, I would say. The biggest pivot around which we build the idea of this ecosystem of platforms is on the importance of restoring agency and choice. And societal platform thinking hinges on 4 fundamental design principles. 1, let's design for diversity at scale so that many people can create solutions in their own context, different solutions. This requires 2, a unified but not uniform structure, a backbone, because the solutions that work, say, in Karnataka may be very different from the problems faced in, say, Assam. Number 3, instead of pushing a solution down a pipeline, can we learn how to distribute the ability to solve? And that's how we would be able to bring resilience into our Samaj. And number 4, for all this, we will have to use emerging technologies. We'll have to be careful to be technology enabled, but not technology led. Technology is only a tool after all, and it amplifies intent, both good and bad. And I care very deeply that we should build an ecosystem of platforms that are in the service of society. Platforms that allow our expression as citizens rather than as subjects of the state or as consumers of the market. We want to spread value, not extract it narrowly. And if we want to have impact as social entrepreneurs, this thinking is one way, but not the only way, to move ahead together. We invite more discussion around these goals and these themes. 2020 has shown us how one event, one tiny virus, can affect us simultaneously, globally, and personally. It has invited us to understand just how interconnected we are and to design for more inclusion, more access, more agency, so that many more of us can become part of the problem, of the solution, and not remain part of the problem. I think the next time around we will be better prepared. Through greatly enhanced cooperation, we are all learning how to scale our responses with urgency and towards resilience, with empathy, and last but not at all least, with renewed humility. Thank you so much, and namaste.